Ready?
I am me.
Call the City of Richmond meeting to order this August 5th, 2020. Everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody tonight for our council meeting. Our first item up for the agenda is our open public forum. Anybody wishing to address the council that is not on the agenda for the evening, this would be your time to speak. Anybody wishing to address us? If not, we'll move on. Item number 3, approval of the agenda for this evening. As you can see, there was 3 items listed in yellow that were added after the council packet went out.
The reason I crossed out 10 is because I combined it with 9. Be all one.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Pat?
Just a question, since we're all wearing masks here this evening, if the presenters or anybody mention anything, could bring up the volume a little bit so everybody can understand each other. At the recent meeting that I was to hear, after about the second row, you cannot hear at all. So just a reminder, please speak up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Being that we're all 6 feet apart, if anybody wishes to put their mask down and speak so that they can hear you better. And when you present up here, if you want to take your mask down, at least so that you can speak, that way we can hear a little better also. So just for everybody. We'll move on to item number 4 is approval of meeting minutes from July 1st and July 16th, 2020. Anything in those meeting minutes? Question? If not, I look for motion.
There's no corrections. I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 1st and July 16th.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of bills paid. Anything in any of the bills you've seen that need explaining?
Just one question, Mr. Mayor, the ones to Renegade Trucking for oil changes and items at $500 a throw, do they get an estimate prior to that?
They don't, not for that amount. We're trying to keep the local.
I understand that, but
The bus
in between the
garage-
3 of us, the 3 of them, they're paying $1,400 for oil changes, so that seems.
The bus garage used to do them for cheaper for the fire department, but they were having some issues there, so they are now taking them to Renegade to keep the business in town and still have our trucks maintained at the level they need to be.
I believe wholly in all that, just to kind of keep everybody on a straight and narrow, to know what they're spending, not just go down there and get it done.
Any other questions on the bills to be paid? If not, I look for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda for this evening, resolution 145-20, approval of July 2020 journal entries. Item B is resolution 146-20, approval of donations and contributions for July, which is Farming Lions for $250 and Richmond Lions for just shy of $100. Item C, acknowledgement of 2018 TIF report and management letter from John Murray at David Brown. Jason Murray at David Brown Associates Incorporated. Item D is acceptance of People Services July 2020 report. Any questions or comments? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 7, Kids Club. I understand there's a bunch of kids that are trying to liven up the streets of Richmond. So whoever wants to start. If you come up here, state your name. You want to add this or not?
No, it's okay.
Just your name is fine.
My name is Emily Strode. I'm the president of Kids Council Committee, and I am here to come together with the community to have an opportunity for kids and teens to do something different, to meet new people, make new friends, and to have fun. There's not much for kids to do in Richmond, so Kids Council came together to change that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Haley O'Byrne. My part in this business is vice president. I want this to be a success because I think that children don't have much to do here, and I think this would be a great opportunity for them to have some things to do here. We have some fun things planned for all of the kids in town. I really hope this works because all the kids have some fun things that they could and hopefully would be able to do.
My name is Jared Betcher, and my part in this business is the manager. I really want this to work because there's nothing to do here in Richmond. This would be an awesome opportunity for kids to have fun. We all have fun things planned for the rest of the year and later on.
Hi, my name is Leah Chutowski, and I am the co-manager of Kids Club Committee, and I am here to give back to the community by providing activities for kids and teens to do throughout the year.
Hello, my name is Joshua Strode, and I am the assistant for Kids Club Committee. And from a boys' point of view, I think this would be good for the town because there's not much to do here, and so people can make new friends and have fun.
I applaud you all 5 for coming up here.
We have some activities planned for the next few months. On August 20th, we have a Richmond Youth Walkathon. September, we have a bonfire party. October 31st, a Halloween party. November, we have a art fair / food drive. And December, a snowman building contest.
May I ask how you're going to advertise those?
We have a poster for the walkathon, and we will be putting them up around town so people can see what it's about.
Emily, if you want to show it up towards the camera, show on.
And I apologize for interrupting. We also use social media, their social media, not mine. I don't have Facebook. Channel 10 chimed in and helped us out. There's an advertisement there. And word of mouth.
Emily? Thank you.
I applaud your efforts. I hope you can have success in getting it off the ground. I know Kimberly will be helping you along the way. And if you need any help, you have to ask her and she'll help you along the way. Anybody else have anything to offer for the group?
Is this an independent group that we're talking to?
Yes.
Yes, sir, it is. And we changed the name. It's Kids Club Committee, not Kids Council Committee, Kids Club.
So there's no fees or
No,
any
sir.
type of club dues?
We did set up our account. Miss Bridget is right there, and she's one of the mothers of one of our student kids. And she will be helping us with the financial part of it. We applied for our IEN number and got an approval for our name. And so, and we stayed local, of course. Our bank is Falcon Bank, so we'll be doing everything there. And Dana helped us out as to what we need to do. Oh, and by the way, for our first walkathon on August 20th, our deal with the Kids Club Committee is to have half of the money go to a donate somewhere in the community. Our first one will go to the library. We talked to the library already, so our half the proceeds will go to the library. The other half of the proceeds will go for other events that we want to plan. so that we can make it as cheap as possible for other kids to be able to join us.
You have your next meeting planned? So
We meet every Monday
Where?
in my backyard, social distancing. In my
Probably
back-
should give the address so in case people want to get involved.
Absolutely, and that's what it says on the paper. It says for more information, you would contact me, and on my voicemail, it does say if you're calling about the walkathon, to give me your email address, and I will send you the information via the participation forms and the pledge forms. The participation forms has the medical release, what to wear, where we're walking. We will be using the Ricori trails. We'll be walking to Cold Spring and back, and so I'll have all that information. And then we did get a special donation from someone that wanted to stay anonymous, that they will provide lunch for us after the walkathon.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Glad to hear this.
Yeah.
To see the participation of your kids, very much so. Good luck.
All right. Then we'll move on to item number 8, televising Colts. Dave?
All right, so this in its traditional fashion here. Give these guys a second to clear out.
All right, thank you guys so
Thank
much
you guys.
again for
Thank you.
coming in, so.
All right, I believe at your previous meeting, we talked about getting some quotes to start televising for First Street Southeast and get numbers for First Street Northeast as well. Got 2 quotes responded from a couple of companies that we've used in the past, or I've used in the past anyway. Johnson Jetline's done a lot of work in town for us. And then I have Nelson's out of Rice, they give me a number as well, just for comparison purposes. Both reputable companies, they'll both give us a good product. Johnson Jetline is a very advanced company as far as televising goes. But for the sake of what I'm looking for here, I think you guys out of Rice would be fine for us. Those are the numbers. Like I said, I would encourage you to do both neighborhoods. This is what's going to really tell us the need to move on with our street project. You know, this is going to, there's been a lot of changes in First Street Southeast for sure. We know about them. We've had several open cut service replacements in the last year and a half, or certainly since the last 5 years when this was last done. So that area I think is absolutely imperative. First Street Northeast is not going to hurt. I would like to see them do it in town while they're in town. But again, that one is slightly more optional since we haven't had the failures up there. But again, we'll get a little better rate by doing more televising. I'd like to see it all done. It's going to help us prioritize these projects that we know are coming and in need of being completed here. So with that, I guess I would recommend you do First Street Northeast and Southeast with Nelson Sanitation Incorporated, just based on their quote, but certainly be willing to answer any questions. Like I said, I know both companies well.
Even though it says Johnson Jetline, they're not doing any jetting, they're just televising, correct?
These are both quotes for clean and televised, just because we need to see a clean product.
and televised.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Merch,
Yep.
you gotta jet it. And then
Yes, yep, I want to jet it, because otherwise we miss a lot of things when they're dirty yet. So, yeah, so they'll do up to 3 passes till it's clean. Both companies do the same treatment with that. Get it clean, get it televised, send the reports over in the camera video so we can take a look and have a fun afternoon of watching televising tapes. So.
Now, the only thing I noticed, David, was the Nelson has the $2 linear foot for cutting, where the other one isn't, correct? That's included, right?
It's not included for root cutting, so they give it
For Johnson?
Right, they give an hourly rate for root
Okay.
cutting instead in their quote there. So, which is common.
Okay.
I don't actually expect root cutting. We've been through there recently enough and it's flowing. I don't think we're going to see it,
Okay.
but I asked them to give me the number so we know what it is.
So we have it. No surprises.
Change orders aren't fun. I'd rather know what that number is up front. So.
actually, yep. Johnson has it in there for $300 an hour.
Yep.
So,
I would guess that's pretty much equivalent. I think it's probably about a wash based on
Yeah.
how fast they do it. It's got to be really close. So honestly, when you look at it, the numbers aren't really close together.
If we do this and go after any type of financial support from the government, is it possible to come back bill on any of the grants or anything like this, if we do apply, get any?
Let's
Like
see.
the prep to them or something? you
Yeah,
know?
so USDA, if they would give us money, would consider this after the project is closed as a potential reimbursement if there's money left. They would be the only ones that would do that, but that's, again, that's gonna be if money is left, and it's probably a few years down the road by the time you're there, but it is a possibility.
With that information, I make a motion to approve the Nelson sanitation for $3622.60.
Second that?
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else you want?
Yeah, I do. Main Street West there, the block of sanitary sewer that we're doing. You guys will see pavement leaving this Friday. Open cut and repair starting next week, Monday. Should be about a week worth of work. We'll get that all buttoned up and then they'll go back to fixing the curb and getting that paved. It sounds like the paving will likely be early September. We're waiting on Knife River to move a plant closer to Richmond. So just an update, don't need action on that, but I have dates, so I thought I'd fill you in.
Update on Fur Avenue, Southwest.
Fir Avenue, yes, so Gherkin will be in there probably about the same time frame, maybe a week later, but we have until about that September 1st deadline to get that in, so Knife River can get paid for us.
So what was that again? It's going to be later on this month?
It'll be, yes, later this month. Yep, within the month, girls.
Any other questions for Dave? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
At this time, we'll move on to number 9 for this evening, the CARES Act money and small business grant. And the resolution.
Yep, so, I'm gonna take this for now. So we did receive $111,353 through the CARES Act. What that means is we got it down, funneled all the way down from the state. We received it last week. We have until November 15th at this time to spend it. If we do not spend it, it has to be sent back to the county. We do have some expenses that have already been incurred, and it has to be things that are due to COVID, that were not budgeted for, and seek the need for us through all of this. I have put together a spreadsheet, which I see did not put the right one in this packet, where it breaks it down, what we have spent already, what I am looking for some future costs, and some of the future costs are more planning for, but may not happen, so they could be reallocated at any point, and I would bring those reallocations to the council so that I can explain as to why. And then with that, we are able to put together a small business CARES Act emergency grant program. So I do have a policy part of this also that what we would do is we'd be using Stearns County's application, because that's what all cities in the city or in the county are using. They have their application online. It'd be filled out by the applicant, and then the county is going to send it to us because we'd be administering our own funds for this program. And by doing that, they're giving us an extra 25% of what funds we have set aside for this program. So it gives us more money also to be giving to our businesses within the city. With that, there's a list of eligible costs, ineligible costs, and then documentations that I would need per the business in order to make sure that it would qualify. I would go through, review all the information, make sure everything is there. I would be taking it to the EDA at the end of the month to have them review all the applications, make sure that they're fine with it, make the recommendation to either accept, deny, and then take it to the council for September 2nd meeting for final approval, and then cut checks to those businesses. I'm thinking and hoping no later than September 15th. That gives us a good idea of where we're gonna be sitting, and still gives us about 2 more months to figure out how much are we still looking at to spend. I've already talked to department heads to think of Plan B in the event that we have funds still left over of how we can spend it. Because what a lot of cities are finding out is the eligible costs are not necessarily so easy for us to spend. So it's making it kind of difficult for cities to spend all their funds. One thing that I did put on here is, obviously, I did earlier this few months ago, purchase a laptop. I do have 5 laptops for you guys sitting in City Hall that I just received and will be getting set up for you also. So those are costs that were able to be put underneath here. I stayed underneath the $2,500 that you guys gave me back in March to spend on laptops. And so I just need to get them set up and ready for you guys at that time. Using this arena, obviously the arena is an enterprise fund and typically we'll be charging a rent for the lobby to be used. So any meeting that we've been having here is an eligible cost to reimburse the arena fund for the fee of having meetings here. So I put that in there. I did plan for, I already figured out what we've done this so far from March on, and then planned out for the rest of the year. Again, can change if we end up not being here for that time. The big thing that all cities and our attorney has suggested to us is PPE is a huge thing right now for eligible costs. One thing that was brought to me, our fire chief explained to us that the washer and dryer that they wanted to get for chemical, COVID, and all of those types of deals for their turnout gear, they were denied the grant. So I put that number in here. It's about $16,500, give or take, for us to purchase both the washer and the dryer and all the other fees that go along with that. It's a future cost. It's still something for you guys to decide on, but it's something I at least earmarked so you guys can see where we're sitting fund-wise. But again, it's up to the council on how you would like to move forward. Obviously, with elections coming up, we have a lot more that we have to do. We now have to supply pens for every person that walks into here. We have to make sure that we're cleaning after each person. So there's a few more things that we need to do that may have extra costs that we normally wouldn't plan for, so I put a little bit aside for that. Our utility box that is outside, utility bill box that we put outside City Hall, obviously did not plan to spend money on one of those. So I did put that down because it was due to COVID that we had purchased it. And then we did have about $112 for City Hall between hand sanitizer, putting up our own plexiglass, and just getting City Hall set up for public use again. I did at this point earmark $50,000 for the small business grant. I don't know where to start. I don't know what we're looking at for expenses for our businesses, but again, that's just a number to get us started, and I think it's just a talking point for us to, either go up, down, add more, I mean, whatever we want to do from that point. So looking at everything, we're sitting at close to, still having about $30,000 left over, even putting $50,000 aside for the grant. We can discuss more as things come along and are being spent, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of where we're kind of sitting on some of the stuff, and then also ask you guys as far as accepting the policy that's being recommended, and then executing it, because Stearns County has already actually executed theirs. So they have been advertising their application on the website since Monday. I have not received anything as of right now, but the application is there and they are promoting it for the cities.
Just one question, Mr. Mayor, to the city administrator, the income from the parks and the arena during this time period that was lost, do they have to apply through the
We cannot, they cannot.
arena? I mean, not the arena as much as the Lions Park, since that is...
We can check with the Lions Park, being that it's a little bit different that way, but the city cannot reimburse itself for loss of revenue. So we cannot do it towards, like, say if we were to lose revenue on ice for the arena, we would not be able to reimburse the arena for loss of that revenue. For not having any rentals of the Centennial Park, we are not able to reimburse the city for Centennial Park loss of revenue of park rentals.
Even though it's an enterprise fund. The arena being the enterprise fund can be billed for the meetings we're having here, but not for the loss of
that revenue.
a revenue such as a wedding or
I-
beer festival or whatever?
Yep, I asked Adam the exact same question. But because this is an actual expense that's being accrued right now because of COVID-19, it's something that we can then pay, but we cannot give the arena money for loss of revenue. Just like if we were to lose money because people were not paying their property taxes, we would not be able to reimburse the city for the loss of those property taxes at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
What division out of the Stearns County is handling this?
Randy Schreifels has actually been the one who's been contacting all of us, so.
The Assessor's office.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, their process is just more, and I put a copy of their application in the packet for you guys to review. That would all be filled out, and then like I said, they just email it to us since we'd be administering our own policy on it.
So it looks like any business can apply for this if they had loss of business or if they're related to the city.
As long as they have a physical business within the city, and meet the criteria that are needed for business. I mean, they're gonna have to show an annual revenue and everything.
Audit type.
Yep. I mean, probably the easiest thing for them to do is give us a front page of their taxes. It's gonna have like 95% of their information that we would need on it. But just proof of the business, their annual revenues, and then what their loss is, what they're asking for. Right now, the range that we have is from $500 to $7,500. Doesn't mean that we can't, adjust if we need to go up, down again.
Depends on how many applicants.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I didn't want to allocate all the funds just yet, to see obviously what our need is with our businesses within the community.
Are the businesses going to be notified, or how are they going to know that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm gonna, once this is fully executed, I will make copies of the policy itself. And then I will put a little fact sheet together, so it kind of breaks down just a one sheet. Here's what we will need from you, here's what's eligible, and here's where the application is that you can go to. I'll hand deliver as many as I can, but then I'll also have Wendy Gilk with CNC to email out to the businesses that are members with CNC, so we can kind of spread the word that way, because we have a short window.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't extend it. I just don't want that now all of a sudden it's November 1st and we have, say, $15,000 that we need to use in 2 weeks and we haven't prepped for it, because we physically have to have it paid for before the 15th, or otherwise we have to send it back.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yep. So I guess what I'm looking for is for you guys to approve Resolution 147, which, it's in the new packet I gave you?
No.
Really? Well, it's in my packet. Okay. Well, the printer didn't like me because these packets were very large tonight. But, so I have a Resolution 147, which more or less is a resolution stating the finding of facts and approving all allowable CARES Act expenditures due to COVID-19 virus and the emergency declaration and tax by the governor of the state of Minnesota. In that, I more or less stated a lot of the dates of, obviously, when the declaration was put in place, with Trump signing the CARES Act relief funds. I put in there the amount that we received and on the day we received it. And then expenses need to be from March 15th to November 15th. And that I also put in here, additional expenditures are anticipated and shall be presented by the city administrator to the council for approval via resolution before November 15th. And yeah, so, and then Exhibit A is a breakdown of where we're sitting. No. You guys didn't get any of that? No. So you only got the policy?
Yeah.
So we have spent, if we count the $50,000, we would have here and do the washer and dryer for the fire department. We're looking at about $76,000 that would be either spent or earmarked at this time. That leaves about $34,000. I can email both the resolution and obviously the breakdown to you guys, since it clearly did not go in your packet, and go from there too. But that would be Exhibit A is the breakdown of where we're sitting for the funds. Exhibit B is a policy which you guys did get, And then Exhibit C is the agreement, or the application that the county has on their website.
That was all in an email, too. wasn't
It was in the email.
Yeah, I would say it's all shown on the email.
Yep, it was in the email.
It's just not in the package.
Just for some reason didn't want to print for me.
I would say nothing changed from the email, that's why I seen that.
So is everybody fine with acting upon it if it was in our email, if you read it in there?
And again,
That I read.
I'll email it out. I don't know why it didn't do what I wanted it to do, but,
Resolution 147-20, the CARES Act money and small business grant.
and I will also include, Adam did review the resolution, the policy, the application. I was even on the phone with him at 5:15 tonight, just running through all of it one more time, making sure he was happy with anything that was in there. And he did not see any issues with any of it. Cold Spring is actually, Bridget and I have been working very closely with all of it. I'll make changes, send over, she makes changes and send over, so we are like word for word except for obviously city, as far as doing the same exact thing.
Even though that our administrator's office has earmarked money one way or the other, that can be changed by the council at any time.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm saying? That
yes,
Nothing in this agreement basically says you have a preliminary, let's say, budget for this thing.
Yep.
But there's nothing written here, so we're not held with anything.
no, I more or less am giving
Just a
you,
procedure
Yep.
of what we're doing.
yep, yes, it's just a procedure. I put the breakdown of those numbers in there for your guys' review to look at. And I'll probably be doing, I have to do monthly reports to the state to explain what we've spent our money on. So I can either do monthly reports to you guys and just pretty much print out what I gave to the state and you guys can review it that way. And as far as the earmark stuff with the policy, we can always change that as need be.
Take that report that you sent to the state would be perfectly fine.
Okay,
Plus one convenient, if it's everything that we need, it should be fine.
yep, okay.
With that said, how does the council wish to act?
I'd like to make a motion to act on resolution 147-20.
I will second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on, are you done?
Yeah, please.
Moving on. Number 11, Tracy Ryan, TIF District Proposal and Resolution. Tracy?
Good evening. Not certain how to keep it up, is that what your preference is?
You can pull it down to talk.
Oh, thank you. So Tessa and I met with Wendy Gilk last week about an expansion that they're planning. As you're aware, the Gilks purchased that lot from the city. They're talking about making about $250,000 investment in their property to do an expansion, to expand their warehousing, I think some equipment storage, and just improve their general layout. So in talking with them about the programs that are available to the city, they have applied for some of the smaller tax incentive programs, but in looking at the scope of the project, we talked about the potential or how tax increment financing or tax abatement would work for the project. Wendy went ahead and got a real estate tax estimate from the county, and it looks like the increase in real estate taxes as a result of the project and combining the parcels, which changes the tax rate or how the property is handled tax-wise, will increase taxes about $9,500 annually. That, when you spread it out over a TIF projection of a 9-year economic development TIF district, has a value of between $70,000 and $80,000. So I got back to the Gilks and said, is that something that is worth pursuing? And they would like for the city to proceed with the creation of an economic development TIF district. I created just about all of what I wrote all of your TIF district plans in the past except for the last one. I've been actively involved in managing them, though you haven't seen me for a while. So I've got a proposal to you, in front of you, to put this project together. It is on a tight timeline because they really want to be able to get their footings in before freeze in our lovely Minnesota winters, and then be building over the winter. So time really is of the essence. I put together a schedule that follows my proposal to create the TIF district, which has us authorizing plan preparation tonight, passing a resolution calling for the necessary public hearing.
Tracy, just 1 second. It's not in your packet.
Why
It
is
was-
this? Oops.
So So when you're.
Well, you're printing, I'm sorry, but you're printing a lot of things on either side.
Yes.
Why?
What do you mean?
Well, have we always done that?
On two sides, yeah.
Okay. all
When
right.
you have 130 some pages in
Doesn't
a
mean
pad.
add it
You
to
guys just look at this
150.
here now.
We had 131. There was 131
One
pieces.
copy of it, so.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Example of it. So bear with us,
That's just fine.
Yeah, just let's look at, I know what it is, but.
This is ridiculous.
No, we
No,
looked
that's all.
at that 131 pieces. I was-
No.
I said, no.
So go ahead.
Keep
We're
talking.
passing along.
Okay,
I read through it, yeah.
nope, that's
You did?
understandable.
Moving along.
So when you're creating a TIF district, you need to kind of back into, or we needed to back into this to see, when could we possibly hold a public hearing to create the TIF district that would work with, them being able to get their site work and footings and foundation in. So looking at your current schedule of council meetings and work session meetings, the soonest we could possibly create this TIF district was, I believe it was September 18th, but that would require a special meeting. And what I'm recommending, but it is at your decision, is that you delay your second your workshop meeting or working session meeting for the council for 1 week and actually hold the public hearing on your work session night, the evening of Tuesday, September 22nd. This schedule is a little bit flexible, so you can choose dates that make sense and how you want to proceed with that. But again, we can't go past September 18th, or we can't do it any sooner than September 18th. And with this schedule, it requires that I have this TIF plan drafted and to the county and school district tomorrow. So we apologize for the last minute nature. I wouldn't normally ask you to do this on such short notice, but considering Minnesota winters, we thought it was appropriate to put together an aggressive schedule and see if it met with the council's approval. So I included 3 things that I think you're passing around is my proposal to do the TIF work, the schedule, and then if you so choose to move forward, a resolution calling for the public hearing again on that Tuesday, September 22nd, or a date that makes sense. So I think with that, I will just leave it open for questions.
Go ahead, Pat.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address this. You mentioned, Tracy, in your opening statements that this was going to be used for warehouse space. So we're going to have a flat warehouse on Main Street.
They have got a design put together, and you will have the opportunity to review that.
It's hard for me to go on without figuring we're going to have, I'm just going to use it, if nothing else, pole barn steel warehouse in a business district. Is that going to help or improve or make my decision to help them with a TIF district if that's what we're going to see?
Right. They are
It's
planning
different
to
if we have
extend.
glass doors and showrooms and things like this versus a concrete, precast, pole barn, whatever, tip-up type style building.
Sure.
Is that helping our business district?
Right. Well, their plan is to continue the design that they've got on their existing building, to continue it so it looks cohesive all the way down to the laundromat. At this point, their drawings show the laundromat being included in that continuous look of the same colors of steel and colors and windows and those kinds of things. I'd really, if the city is going to provide the assistance, I'd really like to encourage them to do the laundromat at the same time. Though, like I said, I don't believe it's in their plans immediately to do that. So it won't look any different than what they have right now. They will
So there'll be
continue that.
windows in it and such items.
They want to, yes, bring it all together.
Yep. Yeah, I can't honestly, I don't know how many windows are going to be included on the new edition. But again, we'll get those drawings and you'll be able to take a look at them as we move forward.
See, I remember, Tracy, that when they came to the planning, it's been a while back. But I remember how everything was feathered in and how it all went into the existing building onto the laundromat. And it was very well designed.
Well, that picture should be with this to show the people that weren't at the planning and zoning meeting. That's my point.
Right, this came together yesterday.
We can also cancel this at any point if I can email out the plans. We just need tonight to get it started if it's something that you guys are even considering. I can email out their plans and the notice and public hearing can be canceled at any point if for some reason we don't feel that the plans make the, what Pat was wanting.
Well, I'm just saying, if it's not gonna match and it's just gonna be a brick wall, I don't know if a person should be in favor of it.
Yeah.
Or if it's gonna be something that's gonna enhance our Main Street, that's a different question, that's a different story.
Yep.
And I'm all in favor of more business on Main Street, I'm all in favor of enhancing our Main Street, but making a warehouse on our Main Street, that's another question.
Yep, I completely appreciate that. And I think, Minnesota, the state of Minnesota passed business subsidy law that says, okay, all cities have to say, in exchange for this public assistance, we'll give you this. The public gets to know what your plans are, and so we'll be putting some preliminary terms together. And part of your terms may be that it be an acceptable design on Main Street, and that be reviewed at the, we'll negotiate that and bring that back to you certainly before the public hearing, so you know whether or not you want to move forward. Tessa is correct that we can, stop this process or cancel the public hearing. Unfortunately, a lot of my time is tied up in drafting that TIF plan, getting the notices out, and working through that. So if that is the case and you decided to not hold the public hearing, I would only bill you for the work that is complete at that time. I think that you'll find Giltz will be very accommodating and want to do a really nice job for the project. By the way, they had a son who was involved in some sporting event. It was going to be his last one. They would have loved to have been here tonight, but Tessa and I said we'll try and cover it for them. It's not for their lack of interest in being here.
Like I said, it's been quite a few months since the original design. And so, just from looking, I remember what it looked like. Like I said, it all blended in. It was very nice. I thought it was well nice design and how they blended those two buildings. So, and my recommendation after being on the planning commission, I'm going to take resolution 148-20. Recommend it.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does anybody have an issue with making public hearing date September 24th? I know that's the same day as would be your planning commission meeting night.
22nd she has written
Yeah,
down, is that
that's a
Tuesday?
I'd rather see it stay on
The only thing,
Thursday.
it would be conflicting with planning commission, so how are we gonna do that?
On a Thursday?
Well, the 24th would be planning commission.
Yeah.
I tell you, the TIF hearing will last all of 5 to 10 minutes if you want to do it before or after.
Right, but if they don't do their normal workshop on the same day and combine the two as one meeting,
Oh, that's true, yep.
That way.
I guess my suggestion would still stand on Thursday night instead of Tuesdays.
And then
If the planning has to move, we have to move the planning commission.
Could the planning commission meeting could be before or
So
after.
we can move our planning commission up a week to the 17th and move our council meeting back 1 week.
Yeah, that's fine.
Flip flop.
Is that okay?
That's up to you guys.
Okay, but
My schedule's tied up on both nights anyways, regardless where I'm at.
So change it to 24th instead of 22nd?
Yes.
24th at 6:30?
This way you don't have 2 meetings in 1 week.
That's
It
fine.
doesn't, well, either way, it doesn't matter. We'd have EDA there somewhere.
Yeah, 6:30 to answer your question.
Okay.
So the public hearing night will be September 24th at 6:30.
Okay.
You have anything else to offer for us tonight, Tracy?
I will stay and be available for comment on the Crow property discussion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
At
you.
this time, we'll move on to the police department report. Jason Bloom.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. Just start off with a monthly report for June. In the city of Richmond, there was 119 total incidents, 8 medical emergencies, 12 suspicious activities, 41 traffic stops with 8 citations, and 58 miscellaneous calls for service. Some of the things that are going on for us, National Night Out was supposed to be the first Tuesday in August, which would have been last night. That nationally, they recommend postponing it till October 6th. At this point, that's kind of the tentative schedule, but we will be monitoring the state recommendations for public safety, that type of thing. So tentatively October 6th, and hopefully at that point in time we can still host it, but we'll see where things are at that time. With the new mask mandate that went in on the 25th, or just this last weekend or the 25th, we got together with all the agencies in Stearns County to try and keep a consistent approach to it across the county. At this point, it's more education versus enforcement. There's a lot of heated discussions on both sides of it, I guess you could say. So just try to moderate that. If there's any businesses in the area that have issues with customers that get upset about different things, we'll try and moderate those. But our approach right now is education over enforcement, and so far it's been working well. We haven't taken too many complaints, and the people that we have talked to understand kind of where we're coming from to try and moderate both sides.
Have you sent any information to different businesses on what is actually required by them?
It's it's more of a public health thing than a law enforcement thing. There's the state and Department of Health that put a lot of information out there. If we do get a complaint, we do bring that packet of information to the business. If we get questions, we try and facilitate those questions getting answered.
But they haven't gotten the packet prior to any complaint?
From us, no. From any state or licensing board, yes, they should have.
They should have.
Yes.
If they haven't, do they get a hold of who?
Department of Health. There's a lot of
counties,
state websites. Stearns County has a Department of Health, the State Department of Health, the executive orders through the governor's office. There's a lot of information. If they're able to look on the web, or if they still have questions, they can come to us and we can try and facilitate finding that information.
I suggest maybe we should have a copy at City Hall, just in case anybody asks. We have something to refer to. What should be done, or why people, if somebody comes in and say, why don't these people have to wear a mask in this establishment if they're eating or drinking or something versus something else? If we have some kind of reference, wherever it may be, then it should be, go to City Hall, we'll run a copy off for you.
And what I've seen is each individual business has done enough homework on their end about their specific business. They're usually better educated than we are to a specific question.
The problem I find out, I do an internet search and I get 4 or 5 different sites and they're all tweaked a little different.
Yep.
So what's the official one,
Yep. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. Usually where we go to is just the state websites, the executive order websites, and then there's, off of that, they have tabs for explaining each order.
Like I said, for each business is different.
Yes. So there's a lot of different specific questions for specific businesses, so it's hard to keep up to date on all of it because it's been changing so much over the last couple of months. But no, I understand the frustration because everybody's in the same boat. Also, we've had the speed truck out. The goal was to get it on Main Street over here today. Batteries should be charging tonight, and we'll get it over here tomorrow. I know it spent some time up on 2nd Street after the last meeting for a couple weeks. And so if anybody has any places that they want it, let us know. We'll try to get it into the schedule and move it around as much as possible.
Thank you.
Other than that, do you guys have questions for me? Otherwise, I got a couple little guys that are playing baseball right now, so I'm gonna go catch the end of their game, so I'm gonna sneak out of here.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Move on to fire report for this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Real quick, calls for July, we had 6 medicals and 0 fire calls, so kind of a quiet month last month. So for training, we toured the St. Peter Paul Church and the school, also the Intune Marine Motorsports out on 23. So just kind of pre-planned if anything happens, incidences or anything. So truck detail, all trucks and apparatuses are in working order. For equipment, we had a couple hoses on our Hearst extrication pump that needs to be replaced. One of them failed on us on 2 months ago on training, so got a quote back. So yeah, they're approximately $725 to $780 per hose. So gonna have to be replacing that. Looking at the best options for doing that. So Leaf blower needs to be replaced as well. This will be approximately $350 the replacement cost. FEMA grant, we're still in the running. No news is good news, so I did talk to our grant writer, and that's what he said too. He goes, if you haven't heard nothing, we're still in the running yet. So we should hear more by the end of this month or early September. That firehouse subs grant, as Tessa explained earlier, we did not get selected for it. However, like she said, we are working on different options for that project as well. Other topics, the application process closed July 31st. We will actually have the interviews on Saturday the 8th at 8 o'clock instead of the 9th at 9. We also participated in a birthday drive-by at Cherrywood Advanced Living for a resident that turned 100. So that was pretty cool seeing that smile on his face with that. So, and then other than that, our next fire meeting is on the 12th of this month at 7 o'clock. So if anybody would like to join, feel free. Other than that, open for any questions, comments, concerns.
How many applicants did you end up getting?
We had about 3.
3, okay.
Yes. Yep. So.
Chief Coleman, do you issue the burning permits in the city?
I do.
You do? Just you personally?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they're a matter of public record, so anybody can get a copy if they want them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Data request form.
Pardon?
You'd have to fill out a data request form for that.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good evening. Say hello.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Public Works, in your packet, there's a sheet from Gordy listing all the things that he's been working on. Most of it's all cold patch and telling us the same thing about Main Street. That the water towers were done, I believe, 3 weeks ago. And flushing of hydrants went well. Did they find any that were broken?
Not that I've been told. Some turn a little hard, but none that are actually broken.
And then we had all our buildings evaluated, and I'm assuming that that list will come back at some time. We'll be able to see what the buildings in the city are evaluated at.
Well, they just give us a new bill of what we owe them, but yeah, we have a breakdown.
Well, I think it should be a breakdown that the council members should see. An idea what the buildings are worth.
Yep.
Anybody know what kind of work needs to be done on the newer water tank? Or it
We
sounds
have
like
not-
there's some things that really need to be addressed.
We have not gotten a full report on that yet. My understanding, it was mailed out last Thursday, so, well, actually, it could either have gone to Greg or Justin by now. They've been waiting for a flash drive to get the full report so that they can actually see what kind of damages we're looking at. Sounds like ice did not do us any justice in there, so.
So I think they said 2 flash drives.
There's
Yeah.
something about, yeah.
One for each one, I think they said.
Yep, so they're just waiting for that. They are gonna be putting a report together for council, and People Service will present that with
Right.
where things are sitting, the condition and what's next. Yep.
That said, anything else about Public Works? Kyle?
Yes, I was wishing to ask some questions. Do we have a spec on our snowplow that we're anticipating looking at buying?
I guess I don't know off the top of my head. I know he would like a wing in the back, but those only come in tandems which have the double axle, which have no turn ratio, which is not gonna work in our city. So, yeah, we know we're gonna have to go with the single axle just for that reason, because of the turn ratio. But as far as the other specs of it, no, I do not know off the top of my head.
Got something?
The reason I ask is because in my travels, I've run into numerous snowplows for reasonable rates. But if we don't know what we're gonna buy, there's no sense in even stopping.
Correct. We can get that information and pass it along.
I don't know if it's his area or who monitors building on easements. Doesn't he hand out building permits?
Between the two of us, we work on that stuff, yes.
Okay, so you're involved with that too?
Yeah, before we send it off to the inspectors, yep.
And again, I don't know if this is his area, but I believe Councilman Mathiasen brought it up last meeting, is the hazardous we have on Main Street East. I have read the ordinance on nuisance, and it definitely applies in that, in more than one issue. And I think that he should go over there and take some pictures, and then we can proceed on with that.
We will have our police department do that over Gordy. It's just better that way. That's how we've been handling our nuisances, is we have them go and document it and bring the information back to us, just for legality reasons. And then from there, we do the proper paperwork that is needed for it. And then they also can do an ICR that will help us with the process of all of this.
Because I hear the way the ordinance somewhat reads is that it is not a criminal offense, so I thought that way our building and zoning inspector should be taking it.
Yep, we work all together in that aspect. But we'll get the pictures taken and start the process.
Anything else? All right, then we're gonna move on. Council report, EDA. Tracy, do you want to explain a little bit of this? Make it go quicker, or?
Sure. I think you got promoted over there.
I don't mind passing the buck.
If there's anything you want to say, otherwise, you jump in, you can correct them in. So the EDA met, last week I think it was? And number one, they updated their annual work plan, and I think that Tessa's might have magically included it here.
It's in the email that's being sent to you with additional documents that did not go in your packet tonight. So you have quite the list, so.
Okay, so they updated their annual work plan, just, continue to work on some things, change the people that were on others. Probably the biggest thing that we spent time on was reviewing the agreement for a purchase option on the Krill property. We walked through the initial agreement that the city attorney Adam Ripple put together. Since the initial draft, he had made some changes. I was able to run through those, and then there's been just one other change since we've gotten together, and that deals with having the city be reimbursed for previously incurred engineering costs. So that's really the only substantive change. I have asked for comments from Prill's, got some early on, but I haven't heard anything back from them, put a call into them before the meeting tonight. So I'm hoping that we can move forward. As we discussed at the last joint meeting between the City Council and the EDA, we ran through the terms. I think Adam has fairly reflected what those terms are. One of the things, I should back up a little bit, in the agreement is there was a discussion of should the agreement be between the EDA and the Prills, or should it be between the city and the Prills? And in talking with Adam about that, your city attorney, Adam didn't have a preference one way or the other, and I thought that it may be easier for the EDA to continue conducting business to have it be between the EDA and Prills, but exclusively with the approval of the city council. So they would not move forward on anything without council approval. So I think we have done, following that joint meeting between the city and the EDA, I think we have done what was agreed upon as we would move forward and invest in having that agreement drafted. And now we're at a point where we need to decide, will the council authorize the EDA to move forward on that agreement? I'm not gonna go through it word for word. Mike loves it when I do that. Kimberly. But if you have any questions at all about the agreement, again, these are all terms that we discussed in our joint meeting. They were just expounded upon and put in legalese by Adam Ripple. Thoughts, questions?
Obviously, we discussed this when we had our joint meeting together with all of us. From what I read through, she met every one of the expectations that we had talked about that evening. I mean, this is one step forward to having development coming on the east end of town. If the council wishes to move forward.
Right, and we had a long discussion at our EDA meeting, pretty much took up the majority of our meeting in general. But Tracy was real explicit about going over everything with Adam, make sure everything all looked good. And she presented it to us, and we all agreed that, that it was fine and that we need to move forward with the agreement. So we were all in favor of it at that time, so.
So it's 48 acres of commercial property that's, hopefully can be developed in the future.
Right. And understand, I mean, we will be taking every effort. I think the EDA is on board in trying to, manage what we've got invested in this. The whole idea is that the city is not buying property. We're simply acting as the conduit to be able to work with developers and have the price, terms, the planning, everything nailed down so nothing moves around on us between the time the developer expresses interest and the time the acquisition happens. So if the city exercises their option, we will only do so in the case where we have a developer that is in a position to purchase it from us in a same-day closing. So we're doing everything we can to minimize the city's risk. There will be, as we discussed, some costs up front, some costs in some engineering, some platting, these legal costs, but we think we've addressed all of those in this option agreement, how those will be shared. So if the city does have, when the city does have some funds invested in this, it is the intention that you will recover those costs each time property sells.
Just remind me what period of time is this cover?
This is a 5-year term.
5 years.
Yep.
And I'll execute a spreadsheet that I'll start recording all costs.
Yep.
That way, when the first sale does go through, we can have a quick and easy, here's our legal, here's our plating, everything, and split the difference that way.
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be critical.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Any other questions? So does the council wish to act?
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
It's actually
That's
just
the
an
agreement.
option.
Yeah, authorize execution.
To control, or whatever you want to say. The
Option
purchase agreement.
Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Very good. This could be exciting stuff. I hopefully will be seeing some big changes on that.
And the only thing I need to add within the EDA is that our next scheduled meeting has been changed to the 25th.
It's not confirmed yet.
Possibly the 25th. The 18th, there is a little bit of a conflict.
There's a conflict, but it's not confirmed that we'll have a quorum yet, so we cannot say that that's when the meeting will be.
Just putting it out there.
We could stack them all up on the 24th.
It's a possible reschedule date, yes.
That's what I said.
All right, thanks, Tracy.
Yep, thank you very much.
Tracy.
At this time, we'll move on to planning commission. Our first item up is resolution 143-20, a resolution approving interim use permit requests for outdoor storage. For those of you who don't know where this is the property right behind Mary Moo on Highway 23. They brought us a map of where everything would go. They're not allowed to add any more space as far as making any more hard surfaces than what anything outdoors has right now. And they've done all their paperwork, and it's up to the council now to decide if you wish to allow them to have their interim use, and this only goes for that business. And if they were to sell, it does not continue on to the next one, if I'm correct.
Yes, that's why we did an interim use and not a conditional use.
So if they were to sell and want to sell it to somebody else, they'd have to come back to the city council to ask for another interim use.
Is it possible to break the interim use permit and have it pulled? Let's
Yes.
say they're putting more units than
We have a
anticipated or
maximum.
whatever.
We have a maximum. In the resolution, there's 15 different line items that they need to follow, and these are ways that it could be violated that would cause termination.
So I was working for violation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can't move any any dirt.
Yeah, no dirt work can really be moved. They're in a flood zone, so they're very strict on elevation, and all of that. So, they do have a flood plan in place, and in the event that they were gonna have to worry about that, the, owners would be contacted immediately to move all of the equipment that's there. If not, they would bring it to higher ground since they own the stuff to the north of the property that does have higher grounds up there too. They're gonna keep the fence in place that's there, and motorcycles will go in one of the buildings that are out there, and then obviously boats and fish houses will be opposite seasons and will be placed strategically on the property from there.
Correct.
They will use the higher ground before they get to the low grounds.
And one technicality on this is the company that's actually buying the property, or in the process of buying it, is actually called MTH Real Estate Enterprises, is the company that'll have the interim use, not the property owner as present right now. They're in the process of switching that over, but without a, what do you call it, identification number, you can't move this forward, so.
Well, we need the applicant, the owner of the property to be the applicant. We cannot have anyone apply for a permit of this sort if they do not own the property.
Okay.
And the current owners were willing to do the process in order to have the sale go through.
So it'll be on their name, not on.
Yep.
So with that said, how does the council wish to act?
I make a motion to approve 143-20 resolution for interim use permit.
I will second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 2 under Planning Commission is Resolution 144-20, a resolution approving preliminary planned unit development and preliminary plat plan for Centennial Meadows. There's a few things that go along with this. In your packet, there's a picture, a drawing, there's a bunch of information in here. On your dais, there was a packet of housing, which they had kind of promised the Planning Commission to bring to the council, so you could actually see, visualize some of the house plans that they've been executing in, I believe, this week in St. Cloud.
This is St. Cloud one.
And Randy sent the memo today of just an idea of what some of the houses that would run. The base price was anywhere from $260 to $310.
And that's in the email for additional documents you'll be receiving also.
Obviously,
pass it
We were all shared that?
Yep.
obviously, this is a preliminary plat. This is not the final planning of anything. Everything that was brought up to the Planning Commission, there was a whole bunch of discussions from both neighbors to the north and to the west of concerns they have, and they were documented, and both the Planning Commission and the developer was on board with trying to help fix some of those issues.
Have they been addressed though?
We haven't had any meetings since. We've been communicating back and forth between myself and the developer to start working on it, but the Planning Commission will meet again and start working on it more thoroughly on these concerns.
Because if the investor is telling, or we, and the city is telling the designer to go ahead with this, they're spending a lot of money, and following up to change it later on is going to be financially burdened to the developer, and that's not, isn't it better to fix it before we go any further? The second question I have is I was consulted by a different engineering firm over the weekend that said before you do too much with any PUDs or smaller lots, please contact the city of Avon that have a small development with smaller lots, and they're replatting because they're not selling. And I would like us to look into that before we move on this, for the simple reason is all the work that's done in a plat and sewer and water, and then have it done again in 5 years to rip it up, and all the connections and everything else does not make sense. We use different cities as bouncing points all along. It was mentioned tonight a couple times about different cities such as Cold Spring or whatever. I think we should get a hold of the city administrator in Avon before we go any further with this to find out why they're replatting a PUD. And because this engineering person told me because they are not selling because of the small lots. I hate to have the city go and the developer go into all this expense and end up changing it in a few years. Rather do it right away. I think we're all in favor of development, whether it be residential, whether it be commercial, but let's do it right. And just looking at the stuff that was handed out today, that there's 5 homes here, there's only one that would fit on some of these lots because the width of the house is only 40 feet wide, but 60 feet deep, and some of these are only 50 or 55 foot wide. I don't believe that, I think we should step carefully before we go ahead with this. And more information, the better. And I know there's some people in the audience that are watching this very closely, and I believe, Mr. Mayor, you should give them a few minutes of our time, and as good neighbors, to hear if they have any concerns, but it's up to you. You run the meeting.
Is anybody from anyone back there would like to address the council on any of the issues?
I guess I would.
Sure, come on. State your name and your address.
Jason Torberg. I live in Cold Spring. This is my dad's property that abuts it to the north. I guess my concerns, I just saw this maybe an hour ago, so this is all new to me, so forgive me if I don't have a lot of information on this, but just by looking at it, I think I counted 22 driveways that would be coming out to the existing road. That is a lot of driveways coming onto a road that is a 45-mile-an-hour road. And just like Pat said, the lots are really small. I'm all for making this a good development, and I understand progress and all that. I mean, our property adjoins it, so I would like to see it stay as a country property, but if we're gonna develop it, let's develop it, like Pat said, make lots appropriately sized. You'll get a better, nicer neighborhood, nicer houses. All that is part of going back, and like Pat said, Avon obviously is having issues with it, with their size lots. And the average person is probably not going to want 5 feet between their house and the property line. They're gonna want a little bit of yard. So to have this, just doesn't seem like a desirable layout at this point. So I'm all for, like I said, development, but I would really like us to step lightly, as you said, and take a long look at this before we just go ahead and do it, and invest a lot of time and money into it, and then we sit on lots, or the city sits on lots for 15 years and then realizes, we only sold 5 out of 60 or whatever there are in there. So I guess those are my concerns. And I guess the other part is the way that was set up now, the way the street goes through there, it would shine right into Al Willenbrink's house too, so that would not be exactly desirable for him either. It just seemed kind of awkward to me how the houses were brought out to the road and then also inward. So I think there'd be a better way if you laid it out more like a typical city where it's north, south, east, west streets instead of this fancy S-curve going through it. To me, that would make the most sense and be the best use of the property, in my opinion. So,
Thank you.
do you have any questions? No? Thank you.
Just one quick question I have for you.
Yeah.
Take the opportunity sometime to go see their developments, which are over on the west end of St. Cloud, and just see, basically, they'll give you a good idea exactly kind of how those houses are built, and then also how close they are to each other on the pieces of land that they are on. So, and they're already, I think, on their 3rd development phase of that particular area and stuff too, and obviously there's a reason why that they're continually building, is because they're selling. So just take an opportunity to go see it sometime too, and then it kind of gets you a ballpark idea kind of on how it actually would look.
Sure.
From that standpoint. So,
Yeah.
but again, too, their developments is, if you go on like one of their first phases, they do have kind of a main road, and then there's kind of one that curves in, kind of goes around. I think it goes to a cul-de-sac, and then I think there's another area that kind of you go down and it kind of does almost like the same thing. I think the 3rd phase of their development right now, is pretty much just straight, houses on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But go for your sake.
Yeah.
Go look. It gives it more of a perspective.
Do you have an address for that area?
Yeah, it's right here. It's on here.
It's right on the back.
It's on here?
Yeah, it's right there.
On the bottom.
Right off of Veterans Drive.
Okay, on that cut across from.
Yeah, and the cut across. That's what it's the cut across road from St. Joe to St. Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's a simple. That's an easy way to say that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
But no, it gives you good perspective. I mean, basically, that's the closest as I can think that would give you some idea what the possibilities of what this could look like.
Sure.
You know, a lot of these plotted pieces of land and stuff too are, I mean, this is, I mean, we've started here. You know what I mean? We started at this point. Is there going to be possibly some adjustments with some of these things? There can be, yeah, of course. But it just, at least it's giving us some idea on kind of where that development wants to start, on especially that first phase. Okay, so, but I appreciate your time for coming in. Thank you.
Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a preliminary, which
Right.
to me is not solid. I mean, this is a goal for them to go back and say they have 94 homes in this development. It doesn't say that, we brought up questions on some of the lots come out in the corners where there's really no place to put a road. So this gives them a way to start. This is not by any means the final. This is meaning that they can be down to 60 lots by the time we're done if they can't make this work.
Right.
And it doesn't stop somebody from buying 2 lots from them and combining them. So
Sure.
if you want a bigger lot, you might have to buy 2 lots together to make that bigger lots. I mean, like Mike said, if you go look at some of the developments, a lot of their developments are just like this. Their first phase was only to put 21 houses along the 2 main roads to start. Obviously to get their feet wet and see how things are gonna sell. And if they don't sell, well then obviously.
And they actually waited a long time for this third phase, because I think that established ones that they have in this area that I'm talking about off of Veterans Drive have been there for, probably 10, 15 years already, I would say. And then this one just recently started up like within the last year or two. So it took them a while to decide on when they were gonna need to move forward. Obviously, the requests must have been coming in for them to go ahead and let's get developing another area. And you can go drive by there. A lot of them are already built and moved in and sold pretty quickly, so.
The thing is, this is set up in 4 phases, so
Yep.
you're looking at this could be anywhere from being a year to 20 years or 25 years, depending on how fast they want to develop or how fast they sell houses.
Right.
And that's why I said this is only preliminary, and a lot of the preliminary part was to get a discussion between residents, the developer, the planning commission, to come up with all the ideas of anything that, if the city got something in writing, because we had the public hearing, we didn't get nothing in writing talking against it. We tried to address what the neighbors have asked for, maybe having to move that driveway if that's a possibility, so it don't shine in the house.
Sure.
I mean, there are other options, you have to start someplace, and for them to move forward, they need this part to move forward so that they can start putting numbers to what a lot's gonna cost. Maybe they find out they can't do it on this kind of a system. So, to me, this is the first step of us having a potential of having some new housing development come in. Like if you remember Bob Stewart over there by Cherrywood, we just got done changing some of the lots to make them accommodating. We took a lot, cut it in half and made it in 2 different lots to make the lot work out for somebody to build. So it's not like they can't change this. This is just a preliminary, the first step that has to come through the council. There still has to be another a regular plat done at the end when it's all said and done with all the problems addressed.
Adjustments that need to be done.
And Pat, we'll have plenty of time to talk about all the adjustments if you want to make them.
I'm more worried about if our city administrator will get a hold of Ms. Trout over in Avon and find out what's happening there
I can send it
and
in.
why. If there's something, why reinvent the wheel or why get a flat tire versus
But there's a difference in that. The lots in Avon are owned by the city, and these are lots that are going to be owned by.
Well, if that's the case, let the administrator explain that to us. in a report, and I would appreciate that.
Just one question pertaining to Avon, Pat. Is this the portion of development of the city that the city ended up having to buy the lots because the contractor kind of stiffed them, so to speak? And then now they're trying to go back, and is this the correct area?
All I'm aware of is this engineering firm said tread lightly because small lots do not sell. So that's why I would rather get more information before we go. Now, who owns them? I don't know, if it's a private developer, if it's the city, or the city took them because they maybe put in the infrastructure and had the lien against it. I'm not sure. All I know is there's some problems there. Let's find out what they are.
If I'm not mistaken.
I guess we know if we contact them.
Oh, yeah, well,
Then we know for sure.
you know, when you're saying the average, they're small lots. The average size lot in Minnesota right now is 95.50, I think it is. The
Cost
smallest
or a square foot?
square foot.
Okay.
Right now, we have one lot that's under that, at 94.51.
I guess my
That's
other
average.
question is if you tell me everybody wants smaller lots to our northwest, out of the city, they're selling acres, 2 or 3 acres, and they're going faster than any lots in any city that I see. I'm sorry that I stepped on you, Mr.
No.
Tim, but go
Let me
ahead.
finish. The area, I mean, we got some that maybe in the average, if you look at them, most of the averages are probably around 12 and a half. And that would put those in, most of those are just gonna be, that's over quarter, that's just over a quarter of an acre. Well, most of the average size right now is 0.22. So you're looking at some of these that are gonna be running anywhere from 12 right now up to 22, 24, 25, 26. We got some big lots in there. Granted, they're in the front, they're in the back phase, but in the front here, most of these here are all sitting right now in this front lot. They're all averaging over 200 square foot bigger than average.
Okay. Thanks,
The state of
thanks, Tim,
Minnesota.
that's good
And
information.
according to.
And that's the National
our-
Builders Association.
According to our ordinance, there's, what, 60% only that apply, square footage wise? Because it's 15,000 square feet. So you gotta take that into consideration too. So with that, thank you very much for the time.
So how does the council wish to act on resolution 144-20?
I'll make the proposal to, resolution 144-20, approving it.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call. Pat?
Name?
Mike?
Yes.
Tim?
Aye.
Kimberly?
Aye.
Myself is an aye. The ayes have it, it'll move forward. Anything else from planning commission? Anything else from planning commission, Tim?
No, we pretty much talked about what we had, these two here. And last one, we kind of discussed about some of the permits and stuff. A lot of things are going very well so far. A lot of different types of building going on, additions, remodels. So we're seeing that, mechanical stuff, a lot of windows, furnaces, that kind of stuff, so it's looking good.
One thing that I would like to add back to Pat, I will still contact Ava because I think it's still good information to pass on to planning commission when we do further discussion on,
Yes.
on how to
Okay.
move forward with the plan.
Okay.
So still good to have our research for that stuff.
I just want to know what's going on up there, and I feel it's not my position to call after I got this person
No,
talking to me about it.
I'll give Avon a call or email, and then I will send out an email to the council with the information explaining, and then we'll take it to planning commission so we move forward with that information also.
And our next meeting is on the 27th of August. Recording Trail. Tim?
Corey Trail, we have a meeting tomorrow.
We did have a July meeting. It says no June, which is true, but we did have a
We
July
did have a
meeting.
July meeting, that was just over some of the,
Yeah, we're trying to prep for when legislation approves our funding, because we do have probably about 6 months worth of permitting that we need to do. So we wanted to discuss whether or not we want to start that process because we do have about $1 million in our pocket to start spending on the project or construction work. So we are going to have a meeting tomorrow, which more than likely will start that process. So that in the event that we do get the money, we can hopefully construct next year.
Yeah, because we did get a little tiny grant.
We got $130,000 from DNR, which is actually great because that was about the difference between the funding that we had applied for and what the cost of the project was going to be. So it was actually going to be looking at the city's going to be spending or paying that difference, or now our difference is covered by a grant. So potentially we are looking at absolutely no cost from any of the cities.
Fill that gap that we needed.
Yes, we just need legislation to approve our LCCMR funds, the $1.3 million, and then we are good to go.
Great. And that trail is completing from where to where? That would be from, well, basically you're looking at Shell Station all the way into Rockville there.
Yeah, they connect Cold Spring.
That little.
Cold Spring to Rockville. Yes.
Does the state give you any timetable when this could be definite information?
It's all with the special sessions that are going on. We actually had met, was it in May, because they were opening up the 2021 application. So we wanted to have the discussion and the approval that in the event that we were not approved for 2020, that we reapply for 2021. Right. Which we did, and we actually got an email from them stating that they're throwing all the reapplications out that were put in the list for 2020 because they're confident enough that those funds will still get dispersed, so they're not being moved on to 2021. We just don't have the formal stamp.
Right.
So
We were for all the project, we were like 7. We were way up there.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of agreement that's in place between all the different levels of legislation on these types of funds, but from our understanding is they weren't going to accept our application for 2021 because they're fairly confident that all the projects that were being brought to legislation for 2020 would be approved once they approve them. So.
Anybody have any questions for Corey Trails? If not, our next meeting is August 20th at 6:30 here at the arena. That said, meeting's adjourned.